Hello everyone. In this video, I'll be showing you how to set up Wi-Fi on the Comset CM510 router. Although this setup is the same for the CM210 router, as well as the CM550 5G router. On the router's web interface, find WLAN on the left navigation bar. Click on this to bring up some more options. Here you'll see Basic Settings, Multi-SSID, which I'll talk about later in the video, and Wireless Survey. First, let's look at the basic settings. The CM510 supports both 2.4 and 5 GHz Wi-Fi simultaneously, and you can see the two tabs here to configure both. You can change the radio mode to only allow one of these frequencies, but I'll leave it as it is. First, I'm going to set up the 2.4 GHz wireless. To do this, you'll need to make sure that the Enable WLAN is checked. Next, you can choose the wireless mode, although in this case access point is the only one supported. Then you can choose the wireless network mode. This refers to the supported Wi-Fi standard. I'm going to set this to auto so the router will automatically choose the right mode. Next is the SSID. This is the name of your wireless network. You can change this to something that's easy to identify as yours, but for this video I'll just leave it as the default name. Underneath this, there's a checkbox for Broadcast SSID. When this is checked, it means that anyone nearby can see your wireless network and it will show up in their nearby wireless connections. Disabling this will hide your network, making it more secure, although you can still connect to and use the network if you know the SSID and the shared key. Next is the channel selection. We recommend you leave this as the default, but for this video I'm going to choose auto. If you do choose one of these channels, you want to make sure that any nearby wireless networks to you aren't using the same or overlapping channels, since they could cause some interference with your own network. Next, we can select the channel width. We can choose from either 20 or 40 MHz. Typically, narrower channels are better for busier areas, while wider channels offer better speeds. If you choose 20 MHz, you won't be able to choose the control sideband, but if you select 40, you can choose between upper or lower sideband. We can also set the maximum number of clients, or the maximum number of devices allowed to be connected to your network. This number has to be between 1 and 255. Finally, we have some security options. There's a variety of different security types to choose from. Just select whichever one works for you and your network. I'm going to choose this one here. This will use WPA2 where it can, which offers greater security, but it still supports older devices which are only compatible with WPA. Next, we can set the encryption method. You can choose between either TKIP, AES, or a combination of both. I'm going to choose both, since this will use the more secure AES where possible, but will also support older devices that can't use AES. Next is the shared key. This is the password you'll use to connect to your wireless network. You can see it's currently just the default password. We highly recommend that you change this to something secure, or you can use the random button to generate a series of random characters which will give you a good strong password. Lastly is the group key renewal. This indicates how often the group key will be changed and offers some additional security. You can change this, however it's recommended to leave it as the default. Setting up the 5 GHz wireless is pretty much the exact same as the 2.4 GHz one. However, you'll notice that there are some different options in the drop-down menus. For example, there are some different options for the wireless network mode, and there's different channels that you can choose from as well. Once you've configured the settings how you'd like, make sure that you click Save at the bottom. Once the configuration has been saved and the router has finished rebooting, you should now be able to connect to your wireless network. You can check this by clicking on the network icon down at the bottom of your computer screen, which will bring up a list of all the wireless connections nearby. We can see here both the 2.4 and the 5 GHz networks. I can connect to either of these by going Connect and entering my shared key. So now I've successfully connected to my Wi-Fi network on the CM510 router. You can also check that the security properties match the configuration by right-clicking on the network and going to Properties, This shows that the security type is WPA and the encryption type is AES. This matches the configuration on our router. So that covers the basic configuration for Wi-Fi. Next we'll look at multi-SSID. To set up multi-SSID, go to WLAN on the sidebar and choose multi-SSID. On this page, if you go to the overview, you can see the two IDs that already exist. There's one for the 2.4 GHz Wi-Fi and one for the 5 GHz. To create a new SSID, first you need to choose the interface. You can create up to 3 new IDs for the 2.4 GHz Wi-Fi and 3 for the 5 GHz as well. For this video, I'm just going to choose the first interface. Make sure that enabled is checked yes, and then enter the SSID that you want. I'm just going to call this one SSID2. Then you can choose the mode and the bridge. In this case, access point is the only mode, and this LAN is the only bridge. Then press add. This brings up some more settings, some of which are the same as before, such as the wireless mode, the SSID, broadcast SSID, as well as the security options. Once you're happy with how these settings are, make sure to press save on this page, and then save back on the overview as well. Once this is finished saving, you should be able to see your new SSID in your wireless connections. Since I left my security option as disabled, I can connect to my new SSID without entering a shared key. That's all for this video. We've covered the basic configuration for Wi-Fi as well as multi-SSID. Thank you all for watching. See you in the next video.